Uh, we are we are running very late. We have a very few people listening to us, but nevertheless, let me start with you, Rajesh. What do you think today, how the demographics is working towards, and how do you address, how is Lacoste addressing towards the changing demographics of India?
Thank you, Anand. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I see that this is an exclusive group, so we practically have a one-to-one conversation. Feel free to ask any questions in between. Feel free to stop us whenever you feel. So, so nice question, Anand. I would like to say that when you talk about changing demographics, so what we see is that in the past one decade or so, the consumer preferences and the choices are significantly changing. Uh, if on one hand, you see earlier the life expectancy was lower, the life expectancy has gone up now, and because of that, people who retire, they also need to continue to earn to support them during that retirement period because the life expectancy has gone up anyway. And on the other hand, that earning ability that gives them more disposable income. So this is a double-edged thing, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, it ends up helping the entire population there. Now what happens is because of that aging population, if I may use that word, the requirement of retail, hospitals, beds, the adult, let's say senior citizens, diapers or those kind of things, that has suddenly shot up. And that is going to help all the brands because even that retiring population or the retiring people, their aspirations have not gone away. Because of the life expectancy, their aspirations are actually going up. So this is likely to help all the brands, including Lacoste. Now, on the other hand, if we see that millennials that are coming today, they have so much of exposure with the help of internet, with the help of media, and their own travel across the globe, that whenever they want to buy something, even before they buy, they know almost everything that is there for them to know about the product, about the brand, and whatever else is the ecosystem there. Now, this is bringing in a new type of generation, a new type of change in the entire retail ecosystem also, because we have to ensure that that millennial also stays attached because that's a long-term customer for brands like us. This is completely changing the entire scenario. On the third part, if we see, and this is, I think, could sum up the entire thing, is the urbanization. The urbanization that is rapidly happening in India today. Because of that urbanization, people are very hard pressed for time. If you look at the urban areas and the current areas which are developing into urban areas now, people have very little time at their exposure. And whatever little time they have, they want to utilize it to the maximum possible benefits of theirs. And that's why they would like to, on a weekend, they would like to go to a mall or to a shopping place where they can socialize, where they can have food, where they can also shop, where they can have entertainment. So in a nutshell, they want a vacation, a mini vacation of 4 to 5 hours, almost on an every weekend. And that's why I'll tell you an interesting thing also. The reason in retail, we see that there is a serious uptake in sale during the weekends, Friday evening till Sunday. However, online, which is also making very rapid inroads into retail, we don't see the maximum sale happening during weekends. The maximum sale in online happens on a Wednesday or a Thursday. That clearly tells us that the millennials and other customers, they really want to go out and shop during those weekends. So this entire changing demographic, urbanization, etc., are really helping the brands both online and offline is what I would say.
Perfect. Thanks, Rajesh. Raghav, similar question. You are running Chaayos. Chaayos is expanding across India, and tea and India go hand in hand. What are the plans? How are you seeing How are you attracting customers? And what is the basic thing that you're doing? And now that you're expanding in various cities?
So when we started out, we were very clear about the fact that we don't want to create a niche premium chai business. The whole reason why me and Nitin got into starting off with Chaayos was that it is chai, it is ubiquitous in the country. It's a possibility to have a maybe a 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 store chain, maybe a global brand. So for us, that thought was never there that this is a very exclusive, this is a South Delhi phenomena, it's a Gurgaon phenomena. Over the last few years, we've actually been able to get a lot more confidence on going outside of the so-called premium markets and seen amazing demand within cities. Like, we are not in tier 2 and tier 3 yet, but just go into the extremities and you'll see amazing demand. There's a lack of supply, but clearly business there has been growing very well. So yeah.
So, as Chaayos, how are you distributing your, your expansion, your India story? How are you distributing the brands across malls and high streets? How are you going about doing that?
So for us, about 50% of our portfolio is high street, 30% is malls, and about 20% is business parks. And we've been very focused. See, we are a high density, high frequency use case. So if there's a Chaayos near your house, in a neighborhood market, in a mall next to your house, at your workplace, you get multiple occasions to consume that chai. And unlike other food and retail use cases, it's a daily, multiple times a day use case. So with that relevancy, the frequency of the customer goes up. So for us, it is just about getting into a market, go very deep into that market, see the network effects of that market, and then move into a second market. So as of now, we're only in 6 cities. But yeah, we see a lot of potential in the coming 2 to 3 years. We'll be getting into a lot more cities.
Thank you. Abhishek, if we can just move to you. Uh, in your centers in Delhi NCR, what different or what are you doing so that you ensure that the retailers which are in your projects, there are constant footfalls? How are you attracting your customers back into the mall, and how you're doing that?
Yeah, so thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak on this. So we are primarily focusing on neighborhood catchment, which is like 5 kilometers max. So we do not work like a proper mall, like a destination mall where we need to have the Benetton's and the Adidas and the Nikes. What we are looking at is a very different kind of demand. The demand is primarily, you can say, 50% F&B, because at the end of the day, people want to just grab something to eat, go out at the end of a good, tiring work day. And if it's close by, it's an incentive for everyone to come there. So we're doing really well in F&B. And we try and, so first of all, our malls are placed strategically for us to develop neighborhood shopping centers. They are kind of a transformation of high street. So earlier you used to have these markets everywhere. So we just organized it, made it more like a high street, low maintenance, and then zoned it into a mall so that people can get convenience shopping, they can get the food that's there, and the primarily anchors which are like really fast turnaround time. So person can go in, get what they want, and just drive off. So we are focused on community, and that's why we are successful. We do events that are very different from big malls, big box malls. We do kids events, sculpting and art competitions, and something for women, and more of like things like there's yoga sessions now, there's IPL screenings. People kind of just come over in the evening, they enjoy in the atrium. Some small bands, music, then so we are activating the community feels, like something that you'll have probably a long time back. You used to have like what group housings would do for their residents, but we have a bigger catchment. So we just have a better budget for that. So that's how we're activating, and the new mall we're building is also more outdoor focused, and again zoned to cater to the immediate catchment. So anybody who doesn't want to take a big effort and kind of have a convenient factor and have everything what a community needs. Yeah.
Thanks, Abhishek. Kabir, if
Thank
I can move to you, Burger Singh is only becoming popular day by day. What are you doing? Are you looking at tier 2, 3 cities? Are you expanding? And how are you keeping up with today's customers? What do you see the difference from the time you started at Burger Singh?
Well, from the time where we started to where we are is a completely different product, completely different brand. When we started off back in 2015, we were trying to price our burgers at anything from $180 all the way till 200, 210. And then we kind of realized the minute we started getting out of Gurgaon and South Delhi that there weren't too many people wanting to pay $200 for a burger. The initial idea was to kind of not come into direct competition with the McDonald's and the Burger King as far as pricing was concerned. But then, if you price a 200 plus burger, then you're going to restrict yourself to pockets around the country, and we wanted to kind of scale. So the product is very different from where we started off. The consumer is very different. It has gone from, fancy upmarket 20 lakh plus car guys to somebody who travels in a metro. And that's the sweet spot that we like. We've also further kind of ventured out of Delhi, but unlike the usual suspects of going to a Bombay or a Bangalore, what we've done is we've gone to a tier 2, tier 3 city play. We're in 40 odd cities now, out of which 16 are tier 3. Which is a large number.
And how many operational stores? How many operational?
Out of 80, we've got about 62 odd operational, and a very large part of those are also tier 2, tier 3 cities. Because we make more money over there, simply because the rentals are more affordable, the labor cost is lower. Consumption patterns, there is a bit of price sensitivity over there, but the transaction volume for something like a burger, people are aware of the product. A guy from Sitapur has gone to Lucknow and eaten at a McDonald's or a Burger King, but he doesn't really have his own, Sitapur store. So some of our most financially sound stores come from places like Muradabad. We are in Jabalpur. We are in Jammu. We've been pleasantly surprised. So we are doing the Bharat story. I think we are an Indian brand, Indian cuisine, Burger Singh. So our approach is going to remain tier 2, tier 3 cities. It's going to remain, building supply chains because we don't have a commissary model. It gives us a lot of flexibility to open wherever we want to with the logistics supply chain in India today. So new product, completely Indianized, going the Bharat way. I think it's working for us. And now for us, more or less what we're looking to do is eat, sleep, rave, repeat. We're not reinventing the wheel now. This model works for us. And there are a lot of tier 2, tier 3 cities in this country that we still need to, kind of approach.
Thanks, Kabir. So just moving, Shrirang, to you. You have 2 centers in Nashik, one being a neighborhood center and one being a destination. And they've been running for some time. So I'm guessing 15 plus years for both the centers. What are you doing different? How are you catering to your customers, coming back to your centers? How are you, what changes? Have you refurbished the center? What steps do you take to introduce or bring in new retailers, and how do they operate? What's the comfort and what makes Nashik City Center or the other mall such a success?
Okay, so there's a bunch of questions. We'll take them. So yes, we've renovated, I think, in my experience, maybe 10 years, 12 years is the max a mall or a facility or a hotel can go without, with the next renovation. So we've renovated our centers. The retailers, most retailers have also renovated. Those who continued renovated. To me, the interesting part is because we are in a smaller city and there is a huge ability to pay, but not necessarily the comfort with these formats. What we did, as an example with Future Group, was Sadashiv, they had 3 stores in Nasik. The third store is not doing so well. First one was doing well, that's why they opened the second one, and then eventually the third one. Third one was not working well at all. So one of the hypotheses we had was chains don't understand tier 2, tier 3 mindsets really well. And the head office people in Bombay, Delhi, wherever they sit, Bangalore, they don't understand the tier 2, tier 3 customer as well as they understand the metro city customer. And therefore, the whole head office of Big Bazaar and the Western region office of Big Bazaar came down to Nasik. We organized a 2-day workshop for them where we talked about the context of Nasik, the history of Nasik, the demographics of Nasik. But more importantly, we had them meet and greet people in the store. And then we also organized home visits in all kinds of different homes where they saw people in their own context and they got an understanding about a tier 2, tier 3 city customer, and especially the Nasik customer in a different way. So some of the things that came up were like, people have the disposable income, but they're afraid to come in a large store because they think if something doesn't fit me, how do I return it? So one of the learnings was we put the return counter right at the entrance of the store. In another big bazaar, the food was upstairs. The food was on ground floor and apparel was on the first floor. And obviously the margin mix is reverse. You make more money on the apparel and less on the food. And this was in a blue collar neighborhood, high earning blue collar. So all people on 5th, 6th, 7th pay commission earning 50, 60, 70, 80,000 rupees a month, fixed income. But huge discomfort to go in this glass clad store and saying, how can I go in there? What can I buy there? And I need oil, and they had significant spends in their homes. So there was some relayouting done of the store. There were some more interesting activities done in the store. And, we found that with some education, with some accessibility, with some things which are easy, signages were changed a little bit, store layouts were made easy. We created a store map for the Big Bazaar to say, where do you find what in this Big Bazaar? I think across the board, there was some 30% increase, if I remember correctly. To me, the story is about getting all kinds of people and making them comfortable in the mall, right? So whether it's our drivers, it's our peons, it's our chaiwala, it's our garbage guy, everybody has to come in the mall and become comfortable, spends will happen.
Thanks, Sharad. Sharad, you've been running...
Sorry, I can't stop myself because Shrirang said you make more money on apparel and less money on other categories. So let me assure all the developers here, retailers do not make money whether it is apparel or anything. So please reduce our rentals and CAM, then only we'll be able to make some money.
Well, look, I can only tell you what the Big Bazaar guys do, or did.
Sharad, you've been running a brand for the past 12, 13 years. You started from Delhi NCR and now you've expanded. So what has been, what's been the trend? What has been the learnings that you have picked up? And if you can tell us a little bit about how customers have behaved different, because for a long time you were only in Delhi NCR before you stepped out, right? So how have you changed, or how have you catered towards a different clientele wherever you have traveled, because India is different in every nook and corner as we turn.
Yes, hello everyone. Yes, it's been a journey, in fact, from the time what we started, what we perceived, and the things, how it's been moving over a period of time has been totally different. But one thing has been very common and static is keep the things simple. Simpler you keep it, longer it lasts. This has been our motto. We're not into flashy or flamboyant business of serving food in a different style and kind. We want to keep it very simple. That is our motto. Once you make the customer feel that they have entered into an environment which is non-intimidating, you have nailed it. And goes without saying, your food has to taste good. You can't generalize the taste of the whole country, obviously, but one thing you can try and do is keep the food tasty. So I would not say we try to keep all our recipes at all the locations to be 100% purely to to all the chain. But yes, we want the taste should be good. And as we progressed, we moved forward, we started learning. We had one agenda on mind when we started a restaurant, that we wanted to see all three generations sitting into our restaurant, enjoying at the same time, which we used to struggle a lot when we used to go out with our parents and kids. We would not be able to find a place, somebody or the other would be cribbing. You go to a burger place or a Bukhara's or Indian restaurant. So one generation is craving always, and we wanted beer. That's it, as simple. So we created that kind of format, and we added entertainment also within our cafes to make it more interesting for the millennials also to come, spend more time. We are a casual dining restaurant, which probably was missing from our country, where people were more into fine dining and quick service restaurants. So CDR was never being really invented as an option. So we, the closest we got as a CDR was Nirula's in Delhi. I mean, I can only relate to that because I'm a Delhiite. So Nirula's was a CDR, but again, it has a lot of quality of a QSR, of being self-serving, music not given importance, alcohol not being there. So we tried to fill in all those gaps and created that environment. In this process, when we were growing, we realized, as Abhishek rightly said, destination malls to neighborhood malls. So we need to tweak our projects in sync to the malls we are opening. We are 95% malls as we stand now. So we need to be right on the pulse where which kind of mall are we opening? It's a neighborhood mall or is it a destination mall? Then we try to capture that kind of clientele, because in a mall, when person comes, they want to spend hours in a destination mall because they have traveled a distance. In a neighborhood mall, they might even come for half an hour, pick up, grab and go, sometimes get the food packed and be on its way. So the human behavior is changing very differently from location to location. And we talk about cities, I talk about Delhi. 4 different zones, 4 different behavior. The whole country is completely different. So we are also learning. When we are learning, we are making changes. Sorry, we're making changes. This is how we are growing. Simple.
Hello. Thanks. So Raghav, the question was, we've been hearing that the business has bounced back, the consumption has bounced back as good as before 2019. So the question to you and Kabir is, what kind of customer patterns are you seeing between, your delivery compared to your consumption at home, compared to your dine-in restaurants? And has the business only grown, what we are talking about, or what has been the difference?
So for us, delivery has grown massively since the pre-COVID numbers. Dine-in is now back to the pre-COVID numbers. So net business has grown well. In terms of behavior, we're seeing customers transacting with a much higher frequency, which is interesting. Repeat customers who are coming back more times per month than they used to pre-COVID. Lesser new customers, but more repeat customers coming back with a higher frequency. So,
Kabir?
So, we're slightly different. Again, 2-3 different kind of geography. In tier 1 cities, before COVID, we were doing maybe about 78-80% of our business through deliveries, and rest was dine-in. Then COVID came, everything became 100%. Now I think in tier 1 cities, we're kind of starting to sit at anything between 65 and 70%, which is Delhi NCR predominantly. And the reason for this slight shift is we've started entering malls. We were, for the first 5-7 years of our existence, were actively avoiding malls because we want to kind of build a high street brand and then kind of get into better food courts. Also, nobody was taking us into food courts because McDonald's and Burger King were already there. But in a tier 2 situation where we're seeing about 50-50 dine-in delivery, but what's interesting is tier 3 cities, we're still seeing 90% dine-in, and because the sources of entertainment in these cities are fairly limited. It is, go out over the weekend with your family, eat some food and come back. There's no bowling alley or stuff like that going on. So 90% is still dine-in traffic, and to be honest, that's what we want. We don't want to give all our money away to Zomato and Swiggy. It's a good top-line game for valuation and all of those things, but really nothing is really coming into my pocket. I'm not even sure if Zomato makes any money of this. But tier 3 is good. People are walking in, eating the product, leaving money on the table for you, and everybody makes a good living.
Actually, I want to add to what you're saying. To me, when we opened the mall in Nasik, people would dress up and come to the mall, right? And it'll be the whole family together to buy that one shirt or two shirts or whatever. And I think to me, the distinctive difference between the large cities and the smaller cities is in large cities, time is a bigger constraint than money. And in the smaller cities, money is a bigger constraint than time. So one is spending time and one is spending money. But they're both very distinctive patterns. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Last question, Rajesh, if I can go to you. How has the inflation affected you and your views on that? What are you facing and how you're dealing with it?
I think all of us are reeling under inflation and the costs have shot through the roof, though we all are talking about top lines going up. But at the same time, the margins have got squeezed because the inflation have really shot through the roof. My belief, I believe that retailers by nature are optimistic. So am I. So I believe that this phase is just a phase of inflation. Maybe within about less than a year, this will stabilize at least, will not come back. And obviously, deflation is not a good situation anyway. That's a bigger demon than inflation. So inflation should remain, but it should remain controlled. My another belief is that in retail, if there is a challenge, and the challenges keep coming every day by the hour in retail in any case, but if there is a challenge, that challenge, you don't address only that challenge. You have to take care of the entire retail journey. And my belief is that there are 5 things on which you need to focus when you are, especially in retail, but that's true for most of the businesses, I guess, which is that even if there is an inflation, and I'm talking more about inflation right now, first of all, you have to look at the top line, first of all. That when I talk about the top line, how do you increase that top line? One is that there is an organic growth in top line because of post-COVID or whatever. At the same time, you have to ensure that that's a sustainable top line. And for that, I believe that quality and innovation are 2 extremely important factors there. And I'll tell you how it is related to cost, because the costs are going up. I remember immediately post-recession in 2008 and 2009, there was a lot of cost pressure similar to what we are facing now. And as they say that the past holds the key to the future, exactly the same thing happened at that time. At that time also, if I take one example, we have our own manufacturing unit, and hence we buy yarn, and that's going through the roof right now. At that time also similar thing happened, and my team, when I was discussing with them to how to bring the cost under control, they suggested that we can perhaps buy a different type of yarn, which would be slightly cheaper. However, we as a team finally decided that no, instead of taking a different type of yarn, we'll take a different type of yarn, but that will be a much higher quality of yarn. Earlier, we were using a normal Indian cotton yarn, then we shifted to Giza cotton yarn. We realized that this paid off well. Despite the fact that the cost actually went up, we started getting more customers. Our top line went, our margin in terms of percentage might have squeezed, but in terms of absolute money, we actually made more money during that period. So similarly, when I talk about cost, as I said, there are 5 things, top line, and then I talk about bottom line, and bottom line includes this cost as an essential part of it, and cash flows. Third is expansion. In retail, several brands were expanding like anything, like a jungle. I say that one has to be very, very cautious, COVID or no COVID, one has to be cautious on expansion. And at the same time, post-COVID, most brands have learned the lesson that the expansion has to be a profitable expansion, not just an expansion for the sake of expansion. And the third and the fourth are very important point, which can address the inflation issue and the cost part of it. The third is human resource development. Unless and until we have motivated employees, and that motivated employee also means, again, increasing the cost of the company perhaps, because you will have to also motivate them through higher monetary remuneration. That also is a big factor. So that also acts on both ways. One, you're increasing the cost, but because the employee is motivated, you're actually, all the other things are being taken care of. And that takes care of the most important aspect in retail, which is customer satisfaction, customer delight. So once the employee is motivated, you have good quality product, you're taking care of your cost in such a manner, I'm not talking about cost reduction, but cost control. So if you're taking care of those things also, then there is no reason why you can't survive and sustain that phase of inflation. So because of that, as I said in the beginning, that as a retailer, I'm very optimistic. I think this is just a phase. It will pass through. We have to just sustain this phase, and we'll come with flying colors.
Thanks. They're very optimistic. Abhishek, if I can ask the same question, and as a developer and as you're making new malls, what's the impact that you are facing?
Huge impact. And we're just starting another mall, so we have to start the construction now. And it is very intimidating. Really, the figures are a lot. Almost 20% increase in the raw materials, the main raw materials, and everything else. I mean, if you talk about services, everything is made out of steel, transport. So I guess I also have, so once, we are not the kind of people who can actually shut down shop and then move away, right? So it's a capital intensive, high, long exit plan kind of investment. So we have to also concentrate on how we be able to be competitive and how we're going to stand out of the competition. What else we can do to add value? Are we available in the area which has that much demand that it kind of beats inflation? How do we create something different? So all those things help us in kind of fighting it out. If we were a pure sale model, it wouldn't really affect us because the housings, they just raise the rates. That's really booming. They raise the rates. Everyone's still buying in. It's a good market. They just offload more inventory faster to kind of, contain the risk. We can't do that. So we have to wait, and we have to then try out different things like what, Sir is saying about motivating, about getting a different product. So we are very optimistic because when we choose a location, it takes us about 6-7 months of kind of a feasibility, walking through different areas, what is coming up. So when we decide on a location, everything else is always kind of planted in the business plan. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if that happens? Because you're actually betting your 4 years, 5 years into a project. So yeah, it hurts, but we are pretty optimistic because we think we have got a solid business plan. Yeah, that's about it.
Thanks, Abhishek. I think that concludes our session, gentlemen. Appreciate your patience and sorry for the late lunch that you're going to have if there is any left. But thank you all. Thanks.